Welcome back to the Luminary Life Update podcast, the LLUP, the UP. It does in fact have two L's, so if you would like to call it the LUP, LUP is not accurate. You will have to say UP, but you don't have to put the little dip in there. You can make it like LUP, but you have to accentuate the L to honor both L's. Thank you. It is episode 2, and hilariously, it's 2 a.m., July 2nd, 2019. So that was a little happy accident. I just spent a little too much time psyching myself up for the episode, and for a completely kind of arbitrary reason that I'll go into in the future, as in later this podcast, hopefully. It's in my notes, so let's make sure I get there. Anyway, I've been doing good. How have you been doing? That's good. I'm glad to hear. As of not as of posting, actually. I don't know when it will be like when I post it, but as of recording, the first episode has 27 views and 1 dislike. So clearly, we're off to a fucking smashing start. All right. Thank you for everybody who's supported me so far on this arduous journey. I'd like to kind of just take things by the formula that I established and had a hard time even following and really laying down concretely last time. So let's just jump straight into things. So we always start off with a number count of what's going on and just an update on things. I mean, that is what it's named after all. So probably should do that. So I can't even remember if I cared to break down each section going into each thing. Maybe I'll listen back. I kind of planned on listening to the first one to kind of get a better feel for anything I might have let go, but that's all kind of out the window. I'm not re-recording. We're just fucking doing this again for a reason that will be explained later. All right, it's not anything scary. I hope this hearing me say it kind of sounds like scary or anxiety inducing, but it's nothing. Don't worry about it. And I guess by even mentioning that, it probably is even more scary, which is not my intent. So if it is scary, if you do feel scared, please put the podcast down. It's all right. I'm sorry to have hurt you. Please just go along your merry way, and we can just continue to not interact with each other. Thank you. All right. For the rest of you, we are currently sitting at July 1st, 2019. Comparing last month to this month, we have gone from 314 games to 314 games. No changes. Pretty sick. All right. We'll get to that in a minute. Don't worry. Games wishlisted, 505 to 548. There will be a good reason for that, and there will be another spike somewhere else, so watch out for that. Anime to watch spiked from 693 to 701. That's an increase of 8. I probably shouldn't do increases, because if I get the math wrong, I'll always hate myself, so we're just not going to do that. Anyway, manga to read, up from 80 to 92. That's the other spike. We'll talk about that. Books to read still at 6. So the total from June to July is 1598 all the way up to 1661. So there will be progress to celebrate, I promise, but it does not look like there's been much, unfortunately. So that's the number count. Going through my notes, of course, I have to make notes for this, because if I threw myself into the arena of public forum and went out in the street and stabbed myself, as I feel about any kind of self-promotion whatsoever, hopefully at least I'll do it in a specific orchestrated way that will at least be a little more appealing than stabbing myself at complete random. So, what are the two spikes? Well, games wishlisted went up by 43. And I did just say I'm not going to do it, but if I'm confident I know what the number is, I'm gonna fucking say it. So it went up by 43 because, as we all know, hopefully around the 19th, June 19th through about the 23rd, I believe, was E3. Complete honesty, I only watched Microsoft, Bethesda, and Devolver's conferences because I wasn't too interested in the others. And you know what? As long as I'm not shitting on the others, that's completely fine. I'm not going to go out of my way and say this conference I didn't watch was really bad because I just don't care. That's what it means to actually not care, is to not even go shit on something you haven't experienced yourself. So that's pretty cool, right? Saw a lot of games that I was pretty interested in, just going to be completely honest. A lot of games, just game after game, that I was like, ooh, I'd play that. So I'm not ever going to go into every single one of those. I kind of took my own notes during E3 in the direct feed channel on my Discord server. Completely non-humble plug. Link in the description. So, yeah, a lot of games I'm looking forward to. Some people on Twitter were like, oh, wow, I'm so glad somebody finally announced a game that's coming out this year and not next year. And it's like, holy fuck, are you, like, not paying attention? Like, bitch, are you for real? Because, like, that was, I think it was, people were praising Nintendo's conference, which was great from what I heard. Of course, everybody lost their minds with Banjo-Kazooie getting confirmed for Smash, but people were like, wow, look at all these games Nintendo's confirming for 2019, like every other game that was announced was for 2020. And I was like, are you fucking for real? I don't think I want to dig up this fucking tweet, but I think I kind of do, since I'm already on this fucking tirade. I was kind of concerned I wouldn't be able to fill up enough space, but we're gonna fucking see what happens. So if I scroll through here, what did I say here? Hello? Where is this tweet? Why are people freaking out about a game releasing in 2019 instead of 2020 like it's a shock? Right, so 2019 launching, already we had Outer Worlds, Gears 5, Jedi Fallen Order, Borderlands 3, Doom Eternal, and a few others. So, at first I was like, I can understand people not getting Gears because they're like, oh, it's a fucking Microsoft series. I'm just going to automatically shit on it. But, like, Outer Worlds, people are pretty hyped for that. Borderlands 3, Doom Eternal, those are all coming out Doom 2019. And then, of course, Jedi Fallen Order. But, like, I mean, that's kind of its own weird rabbit hole where, like, they gave it a gameplay demo that looked really kind of boring and clunky, and then they put all the actual game details, like the fact it's kind of like a Metroidvania game, in a fucking blog. Racevic recently did a really good video on E3 demos, and he pointed out in particular that Fallen Order actually sounds pretty fucking interesting, but only when you read the blog where, like, all the actual details about the game are, because it got snuffed for time by things like a Battlefield update and an Apex Legends update. Wow, thanks. Like, a gameplay demo got snubbed by fucking, like, speech, thanks guys. So, that's E3, right? And then the other spike was obviously a manga to read, and that was because I follow Digibro on YouTube pretty frequently. He does anime and manga stuff, recently been kind of spinning off into video game stuff. Not really a fan of the video game stuff, honestly, but it's whatever. He compiled every single episode of Manga Mondays he's ever done, which turned into like 8 hours worth of manga recommendations. That's like almost exactly what the title is. And I didn't watch the whole thing. I just, fortunately, he compiled a list and also gave it a special marking, whether he recommended the series he was talking about or not. So I just skimmed through it and just listed off everything he recommended and said, hey, I've read, I think, 4 manga up to this point: Berserk, Oisumi Pun Pun, Rurouni Kenshin, and the 2011 anime chapters of Hunter x Hunter. That's all the manga I've read, so I'm not super manga literate, so to speak. So I'm accepting all those recommendations. So pretty stoked I have that much more manga to read. So that is everything about the fucking number update. So I looked back to my previous episode to kind of like get a structure in mind, because after that, I knew I always wanted to open it with the numbers, but now it's kind of like, well, then what? So just following from that, and maybe I'll try and up the production, because this is unfortunately the exact same level of production as last month, because life happens, and time passes, and before you know it, you've set yourself up to play a game Saturday and Sunday, and then that Monday is the first day of the next month, and you're like, oh fuck, I didn't kind of plan out the next episode of my podcast that I wanted to do on the first of every month, or at least near the start of the month, because even the first episode wasn't on the first. Anyway, the supposed structure is now I talk about real life updates. So, last I talked about how I was working on a song for my audio production class, and I believe that was directly, let's see here, a little flashback to the calendar here. That was actually just a couple days away from being turned in, like finally done. Or no, that was the day before I brought it in to present, and then the next Wednesday after that, 2 Wednesdays after, when it would be finished. So, long story short, I continued to, they liked the demo, and I continued to bust my fucking ass working on it. Like, I genuinely just, like, cut out virtually, I could never, like, say, oh yeah, I worked on it, like, from the time I got up to the time I went to bed. I could never fucking do that. I'm not that single-minded, and I mean that in, like, a good way. I mean single-minded as in a good way, and that I'm not that single-minded in a bad way, right? So I couldn't focus on one thing for an entire day if I wanted to. But basically, I didn't play, like, any video games. I didn't watch any anime. I watched, like, a few YouTube videos to, like, start my day, and, like, something to watch while I'm eating or whatever. But other than that, I had a lot of guitar tracking to do. I had writing to do. I had some riffs and ideas to put back together. I had some drum tracking I had to do, obviously. But eventually, I got it done, and it was the third quarter I'd done that class, and it went over great. It was probably the best reception I've yet had to one of my tracks, which was fitting because I believe it's the last time I'm doing that class. Get into that in a bit, but there's a couple other, like, auxiliary assignments throughout the quarter for that class, and this time, like previous times, I've kind of blown them off, or maybe, like, half-assedly done them. This time I did my best at them. I put my whole effort in to get, like, all the points, meet all the requirements of this and that, blah blah blah. Came out of the class with a 93%. Pretty stoked. When my I put, like, a little comedy bit in the middle of my song, and everybody laughed when it got there, which was really nice because, like creating pretty much anything, I think you kind of lose the quote-unquote genius slash whatever was the cleverness to you, the creator. Like, the longer you're working on something with that related to it, you lose the impact of it. So I wasn't even sure if it was funny anymore, right? At that point, I'd written that bit even before the first podcast, and I think I mentioned it in there. So at that point, by the time it was playing in the song, I was like, oh god, I'm so funny, oh, what a fucking idiot. But people laughed, and I was like, oh fuck yes, I can't believe it actually went over that well. So I was really happy about that. And I'll be honest, I don't really remember many comments about it other than that people, in general, because most people in the class do, like, electronic music or, like, ambient music, somebody coming in there with, like, metal within, like, a traditional kind of, like, 4-piece style arrangement kind of thing with vocals, it's very kind of out of left field every time, but nobody's ever really, like, super negative about it. They're just kind of like, well, that was a thing, I guess. But the one comment I do remember is that my teacher said he was amused throughout it, which is as good as I could hope for, frankly. So I'm really glad that went over well. It hasn't been released publicly yet, and by released publicly, it makes it sound like such a big fucking deal when, like, it's going to be on, like, SoundCloud, and I'll, like, mention it on Facebook or something. Because even though I put a lot of effort into this song, I put so much effort into it that I literally was working on, so Tuesday Tuesday, let's just say Tuesday, I woke up around like noon and finished writing the vocals and then recorded the vocals. And because I was doing harsh vocals with a lot of like growling and shit and yelling, I was totally wearing my voice out because I'm not doing it the right way, right? Because I'm like such a fucking idiot that I'm doing it the way that'll make you lose your voice after like 30 minutes of it or whatever. But I grit my teeth through it and did like 70% of it, and then all that was left was a bunch of like clean vocal / spoken word stuff. So it was 8 p.m. and I'm like, all right, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm just gonna go to bed now and then wake up at like 4 a.m., record the rest of the vocals, and then I have until like 10:30 to produce it and turn it in. I ended up waking up at like 6 and I got up at like 7. So I was able to finish the vocals in like half an hour, and then I needed to export the tracks off of the physical board that I was using, and because of how recording like that works, I ended up mostly recording to 2 different tracks and then just alternating so I wouldn't cut myself off on a previous take. So had to bring that over, had to deal with it like at the time on the board sounding a little bit different based on which track it was on, which was really frustrating. And then I had to merge it onto a single thing. I actually didn't end up doing that. I kept it on 2 separate things so that I could pan it when I needed to pan it, instead of trying to fuck with one automation track for 1 track of vocals. I just did 2. But then also I needed to fiddle with twice as many plugins because I put distortion and I put distortion on the harsh parts and I put reverb on the clean parts. So that was pretty cool. But anyway, it's like really light reverb. I don't know, I'm not even sure if anybody noticed it, but anyway, yeah. So went over well. Every time I completed one of these quarters, I would hold on to the song until I can get all of my best friends from my local area, because I have another best friend somewhere else in the world. But all my close best friends physically, to have like a little listening party where we listen to my song and then we're all like, I mean, that was a song, and then we just hang out and shoot the shit for like 6 hours and have a great time. But every weekend since then, it's people have just been busy, so it's been frustrating. I did have a listening party for last quarter's song, so the first quarter's 2 songs are up on SoundCloud, but not last quarter's song, which was Cynicism, and this quarter's song was Focus, which I literally named. I should mention, I finished producing the song with like 6 minutes before I would need to take a shower and then like get ready to go. So I finished producing it, and then I queued it to turn in. And yeah, so I turned in like half an hour before the deadline. But yeah, I'm really happy it went over well, because like, I mean, I'm sitting there intently like listening to it and being like, okay, is there anything that sounds really fucked up, you know? But unless you really go over in general anything you create with a really fine tooth comb or brush, whatever the fucking proper word is there, you never really know, like, if you call it final, like, you never really know what it sounds like until you've heard it, like, in someone else's context, or seen it, or played it, whatever you're making. So I was really glad that I checked it thoroughly for like making sure there weren't any like resonant frequencies or anything that was really fucking weird, or any clipping or anything. But I was really glad that despite all that, it did still come out good. I said despite, but I mean that as in like, I checked it thoroughly, but I didn't have like, you know, like multiple days to like have time away from it to check it. But yeah, you know, I got it done, and it was really something to finish that and just kind of like march in. And the drums in particular, I think drums are something that always just kind of like trigger me, in terms of, no pun intended, in terms of like when I get to the finalizing stage or whatever, and I get to like producing them and mixing them, because just the samples I end up getting off the microphones don't sound all that amazing. But once I do put like the EQ and like the compression on it, oh my god, I had so much fun just like firing up Cubase, the DAW I use, and just running the drums and then just like taking the EQ on and off and being like, holy shit, it sounds so much better after the EQ. Everything has so much more definition. It was just amazing. It was so gratifying and satisfying to have that moment. I didn't fucking look up like, oh, what should you do to the kick drum? What should you do to the snare drum? I was just like, what if we do some of this, some of that, you know? And I had extremely like primitive tools. I'm right now, I'm not really tooting my horn because it's not like it sounds anywhere near as good as somebody who's done it for more than like 10 hours. I'm just saying I'm really happy that it was the best yet I've done on it. And I think that's very much worthy of at least self-praise. So, it came out really well. Glad it did. At this point, I don't even know if a listening party for Focus is happening because it's been so long now. Maybe I'll just release it and just be like, oh, we won't do a listening party. We'll just fucking hang out. I don't know. But it's whatever. So I went to that class to finish my certification. I probably mentioned all this before. Again, I'm sorry I didn't listen to the last one to be like, to figure out where the fuck I am, to listen to 27-day-old Spencer and be like, oh, what's going on, man? But with completing that class, I should have, because I was tracking the credits at home and they required elective classes, I should have completed my audio recording slash music recording slash production certification at where I'm taking it. And I haven't confirmed it. Sometime over the summer, I'm going to email my teacher because he's like the head of the thing there and be like, yo, so what's the deal? Did I do it? And there's two futures ahead of me. One, I didn't do it. There's some kind of weird discrepancy or some reason that I have to go take more classes, in which case I will gladly take the audio production class again because it's more like a club and it's really fun and it pushes me to make music as opposed to just like fiddling around on my guitar, coming up with riffs and jamming out on my drum set, alongside whatever classes I need to finish the certification. In the meantime, the second path is you finish your certification, I'll figure out what I need to do to like receive it in some capacity, and then just kind of like have that as like a genetic dead end, because the entire time I've taken it, it has just been for personal enrichment and to force myself to get more into music. And ironically, around the exact time, so about like a year or two into the whole damn thing, 1 second, I'm going to take a sip here. Classic Doom. Now that was a game. Where was I? Okay, so right when I finished my like first year and a half to get to the point where I was doing the audio production class, and therefore it's like, all right, make a song, just have something finished by the end of the quarter. By the time I finally got there, through all the music theory and all this other bullshit, I was actually like the least interested in music I had like been in a very long time. And it's never ever been a case of like, you know what, this whole music thing, it's a waste of time. It's more like, I'm just not really feeling making music or looking into new artists and shit. So it was really awkward those first 2 quarters trying to like force myself into putting something out. And the third quarter has had a bit of an upswing because when I brought in an earlier demo, my teacher said it reminded him of Frank Zappa, and I've gotten into Frank Zappa since then, and he's fucking fantastic. I love the sheer clash of like amazing skill in putting these insane musicians together, but be using it to make really funny, ironic, like bitterly sarcastic songs. I really appreciate anybody who will take any kind of gross level of skill and power and just use it for like comedic purposes. Like it doesn't even fucking matter. It's almost nothing, just to completely and just utterly shatter your ego like that. It's just amazing. So I've been really enjoying getting into Frank Zappa, and he has so many fucking albums, so there is no shortage of for me to check out. I think I've gotten into like 6 albums by now. In order off the top of my head, Apostrophe, We're Only in It for the Money, Shake Your Booty, uh, Over-Nite Sensation, and then I've lately been Hot Rats. Hot Rats is good. Hot Rats is good fucking shit. There's like 3 songs in there that would all be amazing, like YouTube like channel update kind of backing music, you know, when like you start up a video and it's just instantly like, ooh yeah, ooh, nice music, and like it's got just like words on the screen like, so anyway, my house burned down. anyway, and then I've been kind of stepping into Chunga's Revenge and the Grand Wazoo, I believe. Whatever album opens with the Grand Wazoo. So all good stuff, and it varies from like proto prog rock funk weirdness to like jazz, like honestly jazz. And he's got like 60 albums, like I said, so I don't know how the fuck I'm gonna get through all those, but at the very least, I highly, highly recommend Apostrophe, Over-Nite Sensation, and Shake Your Booty. Particularly, Shake Your Booty is my favorite overall so far, because Shake Your Booty, which is spelled not exactly as it sounds, it's spelled SHEIK space YERBOUTI, is an interesting beast, because it was most of the song's foundations were recorded live, but there's also a lot of overdubbing done in the studio, which gives it this weird clash of like the energy and like the like rawness of like a live performance, but with also like the clean sheen of the studio perfection you can get by playing things in studio. And it's really hard to tell what's live and what isn't. It feels like all the vocals and like the drums are live, but then like maybe some of the guitars and like the choir are in the studio. I don't know. Great fucking album though. I love it. So Frank Zappa, good shit. Glad that's there. So going back to the 2 paths, because I have a tendency to branch off. This is the 2nd episode, so it's just further fuel to the fire that I branch off all the time. The 2 paths from where I am right now, regardless if I'm going back to college or not, I did say that I would be getting a job this summer, and that is still the current plan. However, it's been almost 3 weeks since my final, and after that final, it was like officially like there's nothing else I have to do for the class, so I can fuck off and do whatever I want. And since then, I've pretty much been doing nothing but catch up. And we'll get to like the games I played and whatever in a minute. We're just wrapping up the life update section. Right around that time, like right when I had my fucking final, my family, I live with my parents, believe it or not. I have a sibling, but they have moved out kind of semi-officially. They still have some of their stuff here, but that's irrelevant. And we have, our little 3-piece family currently has 3 cars. And on the day of my final, 2 of them crapped out. That's right, 2/3 of the cars crapped out. Now, I have never, like, so far had like a car that's like officially mine, and therefore like I can just drive it all the fucking time, because I don't really care to drive around much. I've done some driving as necessary if it's like, hey, I want to go somewhere late at night, like 8 p.m. that late, right? And they're like, I don't fucking care to drive you, kid, go yourself. And I'm like, okay. Anyway, one of our cars started overheating like a son of a bitch, and the second car, when my dad came to pick me up, you turn it on, 15 minutes later it says it has an engine problem. And they're both pretty old cars. They're both from the 20th century. They're both like mid-90s to late 90s cars, which means they're getting really old. And my dad's already put quite a bit of money into both of them just to keep them running. But yeah, that's really put a hamper on things in that way. So I did in fact say I'd be getting a job this summer. And technically, if I get to September, if I get to September 1st and I haven't found a job yet, first of all, I will be very disappointed in myself. And second of all, September 1st, I will start like a super hardcore job search because then summer won't be on anymore. But anyway, because we only have one vehicle that works right now, and it's like a 2012 Honda something or other, so like it's not going anywhere anytime soon. It's fantastic. I didn't want to put any kind of like extra burden on the whole situation, so I'm just kind of like, hey, I'm just gonna coast for a while, keep doing what I got to do around here, and hopefully, when the car situation gets resolved, I'll feel resolved. I'll feel fantastic to go get a job where I can have a vehicle that I can drive to and from work and be like, yeah, and hopefully immediately begin helping, source a third vehicle, because we probably only need 2 vehicles because my dad is retired, but I don't know, 3 vehicles would probably be nice to have. And in general, it's nice to have money, as you may or may not figure out. So that's where real life is right now. That's the ugly, unfun part of life right now. My song went over well. I passed the class with flying colors for the 3rd time. First 2 times passed it was like an 88. This time in 93 or whatever. So that's that. Okay, sitting back up in my chair because it's time to talk about the fun stuff. We're half an hour in, folks. And it's time to talk about stuff. So, oh no, I accidentally opened FooBar. There we go. All right, so what did we finish in June? Well, on June 24th, I finished Nioh. And Nioh was a very interesting beast because I gave it like as little of a shit as I could to get through it, and I'm perfectly fine with that, because when I got into Nioh, when I came back to it, it only took me like 7 hours to finish it from where I was, and that's not even like a realistic 7 hours. I'm like 7 hours under the estimate. I think I'm like at 20 hours, and I think the estimate's like 27 or something on howlongtobeat.com. But I came back and I said, God, I really don't feel like playing Nioh. I finally loaded it back up, which to me is like the ultimate thing, is actually starting something, because I find what's most damning for me in terms of progressing something is just finally starting it. Because once you finally start doing something, you're like, wow, there really isn't much left to this, or like, wow, this really isn't going to take that long. So like, I might put off doing laundry for quite a while until I'm down to like my last pair of socks, and then I finally do, and it's something that takes like 2 minutes twice during your day, like loading it up, bringing it to the washer, throwing it in there, coming back like 50 minutes later, throwing it in the dryer, and then just whenever the hell you feel like it, you can come back and take your fresh laundry out of the dryer or whatever. So when I got into Nioh, first I had the calming realization that Nioh actually, I started in like June of 2018, which was weird, but more importantly, Nioh was the last game I played before I ended up going on my character action journey, and I was christened with action game skill by playing Devil May Cry 1, 2, 3, 4, and then, the DMC reboot, and then Bayonetta and Metal Gear Rising, and then in March, I played all of those, all 7 of those games over the course of like a month, maybe a month and a half, and then in March, DMC 5 came out, and it was fucking amazing, and then Sekiro came out, and I finished that in like April or May. So basically, a year later, coming back to Nioh, I was way more skilled in action games than before, and I feel confident in saying that because my current gamer credentials are before DMC5 came out, I was starting a thing on Twitch that only saw like I think like 2 streams, but I kept updating the thing because I was going to stream. I was planning on 100%ing all the DMC games going into DMC 5, and while I didn't end up streaming much of it, unfortunately, my current credentials with each Devil May Cry game, I've gotten all achievements in DMC 1, including finishing it on Dante Must Die, which is a fucking feat, let me tell you. You will grow hair on your chest beating that game on Dante Must Die. I've unlocked all achievements in DMC 2, which isn't really like difficult so much as just like, dear God, why would you do that? DMC 2 is a shitty game. DMC 3, I've beaten on hard, and I haven't started very hard or Dante Must Die. DMC 4, haven't revisited since my normal playthrough. DMC 5, I'm halfway through Dante Must Die, so I've beaten it on hard. And then I haven't even touched Bayonetta or Metal Gear Rising, because I realized, hey, Devil May Cry is my favorite kind of character action. Like, I appreciate Bayonetta and Metal Gear Rising. Maybe if I get bored of Devil May Cry at some point, maybe if I do everything in all those games, maybe I'll check out a bit more Bayonetta. But as it stands with Bayonetta 2 only on Nintendo platforms, and I don't own any Nintendo platforms currently except for a fucking DS, I find it pretty unlikely, frankly. So, yeah. Tiny break to deal with a bug that was flying around. I didn't choose to revisit the reboot. The reboot, I don't really feel like detailing my thoughts on all the Devil May Cry games right now, but reboot, something I'm pretty confident in just not coming back to. So anyway, Nioh, right? I came back to Nioh, and immediately I was like, well, what if I just play this like Sekiro? So in Nioh, you've got a stance system, which is really cool. I really appreciate this as their main combat mechanic. On your controller, you have the face buttons, which are obviously for Xbox, Y, B, A, and X, and for PlayStation, triangle, circle, X, and square. And if you hold down the right bumper / R1, you will be able to switch your stance. So you've got, let me pull up my fucking controller here. You've got low stance on A, mid stance on X, and high stance on Y. Now, depending on how high your stance is basically how heavy your attacks will be, but also how much you either lean into blocking versus dodging. So you play Sekiro and you get used to the idea of just abusing the fuck out of chip damage, essentially, and just running up into a guy and just and like hitting him 3 times and then just like fucking off, basically. So I was like, you know what, I'm just going to do that in Nioh, and it worked pretty well at first. But then, you know what? I realized I really didn't care that much about Nioh. When I came back into it, I'm like, great, I can't wait to finish the game and then play all the DLC, blah, 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 that's bundled in because it's the complete edition for PC when it got ported to PC. And, I was like, you know what, I just don't care that much. So I didn't pull the Overlord route. I did, in fact, choose to delete my Overlord save, and I'll come back to the game another day. Never mentioned that in the podcast so far. Sorry, there it is. With Nioh, I could have just deleted my save, or have just been like, you know what, I don't really care enough. But I didn't, because at this point, if I had put off Nioh so long, only to be like, whatever, and just like stiff arm it again, that wouldn't have been good. That would have been like fucked up, right? So I had this moment of self-realization where I'm like, I've been stuck in this rut, stopping myself from playing new stuff for like a year, except for like, I basically have only played new stuff that's come out. So I haven't completely limited myself to what I'm in the middle of. I've played like Yakuza 0 when it came out in August. I played Crackdown 3 when it came out in February, and like DMC 5 in March, and probably some other things. But for the most part, I've not allowed myself to go back to anything that's come out before. And that is like even more significant to me because there's hundreds of things, as I've mentioned previously in this podcast alone, by the numbers, that I'm interested in. So I realized if I just fucking put off Nioh just to fucking stiff arm it and resolve it in literally like 2 minutes, that would have been like a complete waste of my life, essentially. And the same argument I applied to, I was starting to kind of barter with myself and say, yeah, but like, I mean, you're down to just like a couple games. You can afford to just kind of start something new, you know? I mean, what's the worst that can happen, you know? Just do that. But again, if I held myself to such a hardcore standard to finish what I was in the middle of, and I was so close to the end, and I crumbled, if I gave it up right there, it would have been like the entire past like 6 months have been a total goddamn waste, and I was not down for that at all. So, yeah, I finished Nioh, and I did it in a kind of bullshit way. I just summoned people. But it's okay because you compare that to something like Dark Souls. Here's what you don't want to do. Okay, you play Dark Souls. You're the host. You summon a guy. You have him fucking walk you through the area, and you just kind of stand back and let him kill everything. No, you don't want to do that. In Nioh, I summoned people, and I would be running right alongside them. Technically, they did guide me through the level, but what am I gonna do? Like stand around and waste their goddamn time, like trying to like figure things out? I didn't care that much. I didn't care enough, dude. But every time they got into a fight, I was in the thick of it. I was dodging and doing what shitty chip damage I could. But it Nioh, I feel like I've already spent too much time on Nioh, and I don't feel like going super long in general. Because like, every time I'm like, oh, I could go into a total long and passionate rant about this. I just don't feel like it. Nioh is not Dark Souls style. It is actually like a blend between Ninja Gaiden and Diablo. Ninja Gaiden because it's the same development company. I think it would be a stretch to call it the same team because it's the same name, it's the same like company, but it's been like 12 years, so I don't know if you could really call it the same team. The same team that did the original Xbox Ninja Gaiden and the Ninja Gaiden 2 for 360, not the super old school NES Ninja Gaidens. And the other half is Diablo because it actually has, as far as I can tell, randomly generated loot and builds and like all these modifiers and all these buffs and debuffs. And like I can't be asked to fucking deal with that, dude. I just did not care enough to try it. I put like my 20 minutes and I was like, here's all the gear I got. Let me try and put something together. And it still was not anywhere near good enough compared to what I was seeing other people do at the time. So I was like, fuck it. So in Nioh, there's a bunch of like swords stuck in the ground all over the place with like red pools around them, which are revenants, and they are where other players died. You can summon them as like NPC invaders, like right on the spot. And if you kill a bunch of those, you get these things called Ochoko Cups. And Ochoko Cups, you have to spend an Ochoko Cup to summon somebody. So, you'd think I might have run into a little bit of a problem trying to get Ochoko Cups for however many times I need to summon people in the event that I died, which I did, because Nioh is still a difficult game, even if you have people helping you with fights. But I had like 25 Ochoko Cups, and I came out with like 7 left, and that's because when I originally played Nioh, I was like fighting every revenant I came across because it was still a super early game, so my weapons did decent damage, and I was like, oh, I've got it fucking figured out. This is easy. So I just had a shitload of Ochoko Cups already. So bottom line is, I finished Nioh. I finished the main game. Summoning people all the way through like a total fucking bitch, whatever you want to say. I'm just glad I finished it so I can move on. The more I played it, the more respect I had for it. It's just not something I really wanted to put a shitload of time into, and I just kind of wanted to zip through it. You could argue that I probably just shouldn't have even played it at all at that point, but that's not an argument I'm interested in right now. So I finished the main game, and then I looked the DLC straight in the eyes, and I pressed the uninstall button. And I haven't looked back. So I'm glad that's over. Nioh is dead. Insert the crab emojis. Anyway, so Nioh's dead. So that remains Dark Souls Remastered, which is also dead. I finished that as well. Yes, indeed. So, just finished my playthrough with a friend. We took down two of the we took down Nioh and the Bed of Chaos in like one night, and then 2 nights later we did the entire Artorias DLC in like 1 3-hour session. It was my first time through, but we're both pretty good at Dark Souls, so we just kind of zipped through it. And I know there's some things I missed, but to me it was more of just like killing the bosses and being like, hey, I did it. And then we killed Gwen, and boom, finished Dark Souls just like that, super easy. So that put me in the very interesting position of I had finished every game that I was in the middle of. It was a very big deal to me. I was kind of blown away. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. Now, I am still in the middle of Fist of the North Star. We'll get to that. But I finished every game I was in the middle of, and I was like, you know what? I know exactly what my plan should be from here. So what's the current plan? Well, Fist of the North Star, in its 80s glory, and not quite being aesthetically pleasing enough for me to just binge, because, first of all, Fist of the North Star is easily the oldest anime I've yet seen, and I like the 90s aesthetic of the shows I have seen, but, and I like digital anime. Like, so I have like this weird, like, I don't really like mid 2000s anime, like when it's making that weird transition from cell to digital animation, because it just looks a little weird. But 90s anime or modern anime looks fucking fine. Looks fucking fine to me. I like having super clean lines on characters when I watch JoJo Part 5 or whatever. Or I like the kind of grainy, like almost like dirty aesthetic that 90s anime can give me. So that's cool. But 80s, I think more than anything, it's just the audio quality and how like there's so much yelling in the show and there's so much like people clipping their microphones. It's just ridiculous. But at this point, I'm just along for the ride and I'm having a blast. So because I can't reasonably binge Fist of the North Star and watch like 20 episodes a day, my current plan is I am watching a chunk of it a day, and in the meantime, I'm playing a new game. That's right, I finally got to play something new. And let me say, when I finally started up, I was so goddamn excited. But actually, I realized there's something else I had to fucking mention, alright? Actually, you know what? I won't, because I'm already like in the middle of this, so there's no teaser for next month's thing. So the game I chose to pick up out of like I spent some time. I've spent a lot of fucking time making a lot of notes about things and being like, well, now that I'm finally free, oh my god, what are the things that most interest me right now? And I ended up picking the thing out of like 20 that actually alphabetically came first as well. A little spoiler. It was A Hat in Time. Now, I've played A Hat in Time twice, once for 2.2 hours and another time for 1 hour. Clearly, I have not played enough Hat in Time, but what I can say is that my early impressions are extremely good. I am very happy with it. My only complaint so far is that you can't play every chapter in an act, like straight through. It'll like get you through most of the chapters in the first act, and then you'll go to the second act, and then you'll be able to do like, another chapter or two in the first act. And it's like, why? Why did you? Actually, I got it backwards. I believe it's chapter and then acts within the chapter. So yeah, anyway, yeah, that like bothers my OCD brain. But I'll just come back and make sure I've gotten every timepiece by the end of the game, so it's cool. But I've been also making a bunch of notes on 100%ing a bunch of games, so I plan to do that. Maybe stream that. I think that would be decent stream content for the games that I have to like pay attention to 100%, but at the same time don't need like complete audio and visual reliance or whatever. But yeah, so my current like schedule, my daily meme is I get up, I get down. You should listen to Close to the Edge by Yes. Anyway, I get up, I peruse my daily YouTube content, and then I fire up my Watch Later playlist. And while I'm watching YouTube shit on my second screen, I'm finishing up 100%ing Enter the Gungeon, which I've put in over 100 hours now, I believe. Pretty fucking crazy, actually. I was never expecting that. But I'm having a blast. I've got like 3 achievements left, and it's really cool to see the end in sight for a game like that, because I feel like I have really done pretty much everything in it. So that's my first order of business. Playing Gungeon until my Watch Later is expired. Then, Fist of the North Star has like 20 arcs over its 150 episodes or something. So, some of the arcs start out as being like 2 to 3 episodes long, and then some of the later ones are like 10 episodes or like 20 episodes long. So, my current plan is an arc a day, which right now is feasible because it's like 3 to 6 episodes, but later on it will be very brutal. So I'll have to figure out how I want to space that more, because I'm not watching 10 or even 20 episodes a day of Fist of the North Star. That's a little insane for me. But, yeah, and then once I complete that, I'll have cleaned out my Watch Later. If I finish my Watch Later and then somebody uploads something right after, it's like, whatever, you're going in the tomorrow pile. I'm not watching you today. I just need to put my foot down and not watch as much YouTube content, because it's seriously digging into my anime and video consumption, which is far more meaningful to me. And I think my brain just likes going to YouTube first, and that like it likes spending more time on YouTube because it's more easily like completable content, because the videos can be up to like 3 or 4 hours long, but it's like, wow, I can do that in a single day. And you can watch a 12 episode anime in a single day, but I don't like that. That's weird. So yeah, I've got it figured out. Watch Later, Fist of the North Star, Hat in Time. And then when I finish Fist of the North Star, I'm going to kind of intersperse. I've got 6 books I own over the past year that I've come to collect, like 6 literal physical books. What a madman. And I'm going to intersperse those with games I've been meaning to play. And then when that's all done, Fist of the North Star will be done. Oh, there's another fucking bug. Hold on a minute. Alright, I've lost him for now. He may very well come back, but at least I think we can all just be happy I'm aware I can pause a recording and then resume. Pretty cool. I was talking about after I intersperse games I want to play with the books I have a long list of things I want to do IRL, such as reorganizing my room and just my general like workplace thing, my desk, whatever around here. And I look very much forward to dealing with that, because it's a long list of things that I've been enumerating for quite some time, honestly. And once I finish that IRL list, I've got like 20 to 30 video games and 20 to 30 anime that I'm like super stoked about, that are like the things that when I think about like what do I really want to do right now, I'm like, oh, I want to fucking watch March Came In Like a Lion, or I want to fucking play Hollow Knight, or I want to watch K-On!, or I want to play the Red Faction games, or I want to finally watch One Punch Man, or I want to play Yakuza Kiwami 1 and 2, or I want to watch Major, or I want to play Rage, or I want to watch Gintama, or I want to play Dragon's Dogma, so I'm stoked. I got a lot of cool stuff to look forward to. That's what I love about my life. But in the meantime, the Watch Later meme will get very real, because SGDQ 2019 just ended. Summer Games Done Quick, that's what it is, right? And I didn't watch it live because I like to watch almost every run, and I had the brilliant idea to simply wait for the whole fucking thing to be over, and then just pilfer through the pre-recorded videos. I will probably start those tomorrow, and as it was 7 24-hour days of content, it's very possible it could eat up my first entire 2 weeks. I don't plan to watch nothing but SGDQ over the next few days. I'll probably watch like a few runs and then do other stuff or something. We'll see what happens. It honestly, at the end of the day, it depends on how much Gungeon I feel like doing or other games that I want to 100%, because I won't just if I somehow wake up to 12 hours of YouTube content, considering I now have the free time and, well, not now that I have the free time, now that I have the freedom to literally pursue what I'm interested in, I suppose, that I've granted myself, I don't really give that much of a fuck about watching so much YouTube in a certain day. So that's very exciting. Yeah, I believe that concludes the life update and general video game and anime bullshit. So now we're gonna get into the fucking soapbox era, you know? And what are some of the topics that I have today? I'm not even sure how long I'll go on each of these, because when I looked over them, I'm like, well, I don't even know how much I could say about that. But here we are, like an hour in, vaguely, and I've managed to talk pretty long already. So, first topic. A while back, about 2 weeks ago, I saw some clip on Twitch of some chick that was like reacting to something. I don't know. It was like the full screenshot of her, so she wasn't playing a game or whatever. It was like somebody was giving her like a donation or some shit. And I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. But in the background, she's got like this massive pyramid of like, I would hazard a guess of like 60 or maybe 70 Funkos. And I'm not here to diss Funkos in particular, okay? Whatever. People have done that. It's not an original idea. It's not even a clever idea, and it never will be. It never was. What I'm here to ask is, why do you have 70 Funko figures? Why do people, like, let me establish first of all, I don't really understand collecting in general, so that's first of all my own mistake. I don't really believe in collecting figures or like stamps, you know, whatever people are into these days. I only really believe in collecting stuff that has some kind of function. So like, I would get collecting video games, collecting music, collecting anime DVD/Blu-rays. That makes sense to me. I plan to buy some Blu-rays of my favorite shows in the future. Don't really care about figures though, because they're just going to take up space and look nice, you know. Good on you if you like figures, though. It's not that I don't understand it. I'm just like, I don't really care. So, but Funkos, right? Now I won't try to be elusive about it. I don't like Funkos. I don't like their design. But again, like I said, I'm not here to shit on them. People have done it. It's not original. But my question is, why does she have 70 Funko figures? Why is it 70 of a certain brand of figures and not like 70 figures of this topic or like this culture? Like, I'm not here to doubt that she could find 70 different things she likes and therefore there's a Funko of it. I mean, they're releasing Evangelion Funkos, and now I get it. Now I get how people feel when they say Evangelion gave them depression, because that's how I feel seeing that. But I don't know. It's just weird to me. It's like loyalty to a brand, but it doesn't even make sense, because what does Funko do for you? It doesn't do anything. The figures don't have any like usable value, you know? And again, I'm not here to say that like it's completely moronic. I don't get why people do it. I get why people do it, but at the same time, I just don't know why you would say I really like Funko. I'm going to buy 70 Funko figures because I like Funko, and you know, I really like this thing, and I kind of like this thing, so I'll buy a Funko of both of them. So I don't know. It's weird. It's like collecting different Mountain Dew cans, I guess. But at least when you buy it, you're gonna like drink the Mountain Dew, you know, or you're gonna stick a pin through the bottom so you can drain out all the soda and just have the empty can with it unopened, you know. I don't know. It's really weird though. I don't really get it. Like I don't know, man. I don't get it. Next up, the YouTube sidebar has gone to shit. Okay. Now I'm not talking about anything recent. I'm not talking about how when you look at some random schmucks videos that has under 100 views, like myself, and the algorithm doesn't know what the fuck to recommend you, so it just puts up a bunch of garbage videos, all those like kids toys videos and whatever, and you're like, God damn it, YouTube, why is this shit in my sidebar? But in general, I wanted to talk about my own realization, and I don't think this is a revelation for anybody. I think it's something everybody has kind of like accepted, whether they've like consciously noticed it or not, and that's that it's very rare at this point in YouTube. It's very rare for your sidebar to actually have related videos to what you're watching. At this point, your sidebar is almost entirely recommended videos based on what you've been watching, and that's kind of all right. I remember when that first was a thing, and you're like, well, I don't know why I'm currently watching videos about anime, and and there's like, here's a fucking Devin Townsend video. Like, that, well, this doesn't have anything to do with this video I'm watching. But now it's like the entire thing. You know, your entire sidebar will be recommended videos. And this is kind of a good thing. It makes sense because I don't know about anybody else, but my recommended videos on YouTube, I watch a shitload of YouTube, so my recommended videos are generally pretty good, actually. I find a lot of good, new, interesting stuff through it. But at the same time, it has like almost completely killed off virtually every subscription I have. I still have like a dozen that I follow pretty hardcore, but I am actually subscribed to at least 300 people, maybe 500 people, just by like utter foolishness, because at some point in time I get into their channel for like a week and I'm like, God, I really like this guy's content, and then I subscribe and then watch for another couple days and then I kind of lose interest and then I just never see them again, you know. But it's really kind of weird because you can totally understand why they do it, because it's generally just feeding you more stuff you're interested in. But it's just weird to watch a video about something and the related videos maybe have a few at this point that are actually related to it. And I thought about that because how often these days do you actually, like, as they say, end up in the weird side of YouTube? You know, you might get recommended a video by like somebody personally. One of your friends might say, "Look at this fucking goofy video," and you're like, "Wow, that's a goofy fucking video." And then maybe it'll infect your recommended videos, and you'll get more goofy videos. But for the most part, you don't get that classic YouTube experience that I think everybody's had, where you're surfing through your fucking videos and after enough time, you're like, bruh, I was just watching Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 commentaries, and now I'm looking at this guy fucking talking about how many dimes you could fit up your ding dong. I don't get it. You know, not that that's ever happened to me, not that I've ever seen a video on that topic, or whether it would even be allowed on YouTube, but just the kind of extreme lengths. It's like a conversation with a normal person. Well, I shouldn't say normal person, just an average person talking to a friend. You'll get on some topic and you guys will just constantly find some way to like kind of branch it off and be like, it kind of reminds me of blah, 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 blah. And then you'll be like, oh yeah, blah, blah, blah. And you just get further away from the original topic until you're talking about like the geopolitical landscape in the Middle East when you started talking about cotton candy flavors, you know, because, ooh, there was a sugar ban in Greece, blah, 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 blah. And Greece recently did blah, blah, blah. I don't know about any of that. I'm just bullshitting, but yeah, I don't know. I think it's fucking sucks that we've lost the art of wandering into the weird side of YouTube, as they call it. Because once you get there, most people are like, fuck this, I'm out. I'm kind of aware of what's going on. But then a lot of us are like, this is fucking weird. What am I looking at right now? So there's that. Next up, this is a more personal topic, so feel free to pretty much turn off the podcast at this point because now I'm just kind of talking about my own bullshit. And that is my own kind of internet crusade, so to speak. Now, using the word crusade and having no other context, hearing this in my brain as I'm saying it, I'm like, dear God, Spencer, crusade. Oh my God, that sounds fucking awful. It sounds like you're gonna go kill. No, 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 nothing like that. Nothing like that. I mean, like my own ascent to having any kind of presence on the internet whatsoever. I'm not gonna do anything wacky with any fame I generate. And that's mainly rooted in the fact that I want to do stuff. I want to post more YouTube videos. I want to do the Life Update podcast more often, but I'm kind of just super conflicted and I don't really like shilling myself on my own server because everybody that's there is like a friend of mine. So I'm caught in this weird web where I'm shilling myself to my friends and I don't have any fans, so to speak. I don't have anybody I know of that's like, damn, I can't fucking wait to see you do this. It would be really cool to see you stream this. So I'm just kind of like constantly demoralized by it because I can't really get over the notion of bothering my friends with it, even though it's my server. But the problem is, again, I'm shilling to my own friends. So if I want to stream something and I want to ping, it's pinging to my friends, and they're gonna be like, "Oh, there goes Spencer streaming again," but they don't really care, right? And I'm not saying that as in like they don't care about me. I mean that like you're not interested in watching somebody stream, you just don't watch streams. So it's like a self-defeating thing that I think about psychologically. So I don't know. It's weird. I want to do more stuff on YouTube in general, but I just can't like validate it because if I want to give it the proper like as much attention as I can give it, which is to then post it and then post it on Discord with an everyone, I feel people would get kind of uppity to me, and but at the same time, it's like the duality of like it is my server, so I don't know. It's just something I'm thinking about because like I get really self conscious when I start streaming every now and again, and then I'm like, well, I gotta fucking bother my friends with this because I don't have anybody in the Discord that's actually interested in hearing about it. And so maybe one course of action is to just not tell people and just stream. And if people see it, then they can be like, wow, he's streaming. Ooh. And if I pick up anybody from streaming, they'll end up in the Discord server or from YouTube, whatever. They'll end up in the Discord server. That's where everything points. And then when I pick up one guy or two guys or three guys, is that when I start posting at everyone, hey, I'm streaming? Or do I wait until I have like 10 guys? Do I wait until I have one fan that seems super passionate for some reason? Do I wait until I find my first guy that seems to get me, the first person that understands me and is like, wow, you know what? I'm interested in your fucking plight because this kind of drags me into my next half point that is kind of like stapled next to this one. And that's the notion of aggressively being myself. This is the point that the start of the podcast was prefacing, and that's that I really need to stop like trying to be professional about things and just be myself because I'm never going to be the most professional streamer. I'm never going to be the most professional guy on YouTube. I'm never going to be the most clean cut, oh, we better not swear, and say, wow, you stupid doo-doo head. I'm never going to be those people, and I'll never win over people by having the cleanest overlay or having the cleanest audio production. I purely want to sell people on me. And it's hard to do that, especially without anything of value to like point to and say, look, this is what I can do. But, there's no harm in trying, right? And As long as I don't overstep my borders and start shitting on people for no reason, trying to start drama, which I don't ever fucking plan to. That sounds like an awful idea. I think as long as I'm just myself for a long enough amount of time, somebody will show up and they'll be like, hey, you know what? This guy's kind of cool. And maybe they'll tell their friends. Maybe more people will join the server. Maybe I can finally get the goddamn thing off the fucking floor. That would be cool. It's just annoying because I just don't know when I'm allowed to do stuff because it is my server and I should feel completely enabled to do whatever I fucking want on it, frankly. But for some reason, I keep holding myself back and chaining myself so that I don't irk and alienate my friends that are on there. But I don't know. One of these days, I'll just completely unchain myself and just be like, yeah, well, this is just who I am, blah, 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 and move accordingly. So, next topic. This is just a funny little joke here about well, not even a joke. This is just kind of like a footnote about the podcast itself. Right at the start, I actually did, in fact, look up what a podcast is technically defined as. And it's both a noun and a verb. So the noun definition is a digital audio file made available on the internet for downloading to a computer or mobile device, typically available as a series, new installments of which can be received by subscribers automatically. And the verb definition is make a digital audio file, in parentheses, available as a podcast. Well, seeing as there's no official way to download this thing, and there's no way to technically receive the new download as a subscriber to this YouTube channel, this technically isn't a podcast. That's really unfortunate. I don't really know what else to call this, and I think I'm just going to keep calling it a podcast. So in 7 years' time, when 10 people start watching my channel and they're like, I want to get the deep lore, they can look back and be like, wow, oh my god, he's even aware it's not a podcast. Holy shit. If the production value of this goes up in the future, which it might, I don't know. I'm not even going to plant the idea, the seed of the concept that it could. If it goes up in the future, maybe I'll worry about distributing it and whatnot. First, we got to get past like 10 episodes, right? If we make a full year of episodes, then I'll be like, wow, this is a thing I do. Holy shit. And right now, this is the product I make that's like, here I am. Blah, blah, blah. So that's pretty cool. This is what I can bother my friends about. Yeah, so this isn't even technically a podcast. Speaking of the podcast that it isn't, I might drag some friends into this in the future. A few of my friends have individually come to me and said, hey, you know what? We talk a lot of the time. We should fucking start a podcast. And one of them, I don't even talk that much to anymore. We're still on good terms and we're still friends. And we cohabitate Discord servers. I'm just not in his very often, and he's probably just not in mine whatsoever. So that sucks. The second one, I just don't talk to enough, typically. I kind of have to reach out if I ever want to talk to him instead of it just being like a passive thing. The third one, I could do it with, but in general, the blanket reason I've never tried doing it with other people, doing the podcast with other people is I'm afraid I'll talk too much, because when I talk to people and we get into like a really serious topic or something I'm really passionate about, I'll find myself talking way more than the other person, and the bug is back. So give me just a goddamn minute here. Alright, that's victim 2 for tonight. Typically, I only have to deal with one a night, so if I get it out of the way, I don't have to deal with it for like 5 hours. Anyway, so I was talking about how I feel like I always talk more than the other person. And if I had a podcast and they were like the co-host or the guest, then that wouldn't really be an issue. I would just feel like an asshole at the time, and then like check after the fact and be like, yo, dude, like, is it okay that I kind of like fucking verbally stepped all over you? But I've always been kind of afraid to take the leadership role, I think, in general, not to get too deep again, because all of my friends seem to be very independent, but at the same time, they're not. Like, they want to be independent of, like, leadership. They're not rebellious, but just I feel uncomfortable trying to put something together because I don't believe they'd ever take me seriously if I did have like some kind of leadership role, and which I think is unfortunate because they are still the kinds of people that have to have social interaction with other groups of people, where I'm very kind of isolationist. That's not like a political spectrum thing. I'm just using the term, I think, in an accurate manner. I don't know. So I don't know. They like to spend time with other people, but I don't think they'd ever accept the notion of somebody like leading over them in like a non-serious like scenario, you know. But time will tell. Maybe they'll be on the podcast, maybe they won't. It wouldn't be the Life Update podcast, which would make things really weird, because then I would have the Life Update podcast and then some other podcast, which is very likely, but that would then mean the Life Update podcast would be its own thing, and it would be more like, I'd prefer more to have like one podcast, and the Life Updates are like the monthly updates, and then like every other time the podcast comes out, whenever, it would be just not the monthly update episodes. You know, some people can just consume the monthly updates if they want, or just be like, I don't fucking give a fuck. It's the first few days of the month. I gotta figure out what the fuck I'm doing. I think months are a really good like point in time to kind of be like, okay, what did I do last month? And just kind of like reassess, like, hey, where am I at? You know, what am I doing? So yeah. It would be cool to have like, I think what I've always wanted, just as one last little note on it, I think what I've always wanted is to have my own little like tight-knit group of friends, like how you've got those fucking YouTube groups or whatever, like fucking Logan Paul's team or whatever, Team 10 I think it is. I've always wanted to have like a small tight-knit group of friends that I did everything with, but that just doesn't happen. And it's unfortunate, because I wish I could just have like, hey, it's me and my pals. And because it would be my channel, I would be, again, the leader in it. But I just can't make it happen. And I don't know how I'd be able to sell them on like, hey, do you want to like start, like, do you want to play this game with me and I'll record it and put it on my YouTube channel and like edit it and whatever. I don't have any editing skills. It's purely a hypothetical right now. But that's one thing I've always wanted, I'll say. I wish I had a group of close-knit friends that I could be like, hey, we're going to go fucking beat waves 1 through 50 on Gears of War 3 Horde on Insane, because I have to do it for an achievement and I need 5 people. I can't do it solo, so you fuckers are coming with me. And I wish I had a group of people that the response would be, fuck yeah, let's fucking do it. And they would know in response whatever they wanted help with, or if they had a game that they wanted to play, I'd be right there, because I would. So I have a tendency to dream big on cool things I could do, and I just end up not doing them out of fear for wasting my time having done them, such as hyping up my Discord server with potentially doing events that I don't know how many people would show up to, or just not getting the required manpower, such as hosting events that I don't know how many people would show up to. If I wanted to do like a Doom Deathmatch night, you know, with like a team deathmatch thing, that'd be really cool, but I'd need like 12 people, right? I could do free-for-alls with like 3 or 4 people, but I don't know. So many things I wish I could do, but I just don't have the people. How do I get the people? I have to sell myself. How am I planning on selling myself as myself? How do I interest people in myself? Doing other things that aren't just like masturbatory about myself, like this fucking podcast. Oops. I'm just really fucked, aren't I? Just totally, just utterly fucked. Ugh. But I think that's all I have to say for today. I kind of, in my brain the last few days, I've been like, oh god, here comes the second podcast. But, you know, hey, we got through it. And maybe next time I'll go further in depth in everything, because it was only like an hour and 20 minutes vaguely, if I count out the time I paused for bug destruction. Yeah, I don't know. Whatever. Thanks for listening. I don't know how I'm supposed to close this. I didn't listen to the first episode, so if you listen through this whole thing, thanks for listening. I appreciate it. Again, last episode we got 27 views and 1 dislike, So if we could beat that just in one way, if we get 2 dislikes, that'd be like fucking sick, bro. If we had at least 2 people like react to it in some way, that'd be like cool. That'd be visible growth, you know. And I believe if I do have anybody that does actively dislike the podcast, hopefully at some point they would just leave because they would not find it worth coming back to and disliking. But, you know, if they do, like I said, 27 views, 1 dislike. Let's see what we can get this episode this month. All right. Thank you for tuning in. And I'll see you next month for the August update. That'll be pretty fucking wacky. Will I finish A Hat in Time? Will I finish Fist of the North Star? I plan to. I plan to finish it over the course of this month. So get hyped for that. Please join my Discord server. It is the... If it had all the people it needed, it would be the best Discord server on the fucking face of the earth. But in the meantime, it's just like the best built. I promise. I've thought about everything. So... come join the Discord server. The link is in the description. And bye-bye for now.